So it has been a while since I've done anything for This Week in Comics, and I just want to follow up with some books that I'm still reading, just blowing me away. And we even have a new #1 that I think is just really relevant with currently what's trendy right now, and actually I was surprised by it. I'm going to be focusing on making more content for stuff like this. I've been playing a lot of video games, if you haven't been able to tell if you follow the channel. But going to be definitely putting up more stuff with comic books. So obviously this week we'll not be talking about the comic books that have released this week, since New Comic Book Day is actually tomorrow. But I still just want to try and play catch up with some issues that have recently come out. So let's go over some stuff. For our #1 this week, something that really surprised me, something I wasn't sure if I was going to really get into it, being that it's attached to something so well known and even creators that are so well known. But if Berserker taught us anything, that doesn't mean that it's going to be something not worth reading. And I really got to hand it off to DC Horror. Check out that new label that's coming out of DC with the Conjuring The Lover issue #1. This is going to be a short series of 5 issues. We have creators and artists getting together for this: Johnson, McGoldrick, Ogle, Snyder, Cohen, Spicer, and Sotomayor. I was very surprised by this. Conjuring is a very well-known film, very well-known franchise, and we just had a Conjuring film release not too long ago, so that's really not a coincidence here. Also, what's not a coincidence is usually this is definitely something that is in response that Marvel is doing. Marvel just recently came out with their film franchise, comic run in Alien, which is also a horror franchise. I'm loving that as well, and this really didn't disappoint. I think DC does a really good job of capturing the mood of its content over its story, whether it be a Batman story or whether it be a Justice League story. It's really just good at capturing the appropriate mood for the story, and The Conjuring just does this very well also. Story-wise, of course, it's being inspired by a very well-established film universe, and this is definitely extended universe, as it is kind of addressing similar incidences and similar poltergeists, if you will, that afflict families and afflict these chosen ones, if you will. It being horror, DC really did get the appropriate artists to do this color work, to do this artwork, this art style that really works well for the book. It just, again, kind of, I know I've talked about Ashley Wood before and how Ashley Wood worked with 30 Days of Night. I'm feeling those same kind of vibes. If you've seen what Ashley Wood does with 30 Days of Night, I'm kind of getting that feel with The Conjuring here, how the art just really is a good representation of the content. The Conjuring films, they are unsettling. They're kind of like, they can make you feel very uncomfortable. And I really have to say, some of the artwork here is just making that environment that's uncomfortable, unsettling, and just really good for that first issue. Really surprised with The Conjuring The Lover, issue #1. And this is the standard cover. You know, I don't know if there were any incentives. Again, I don't know how well the book is going to do. I don't know how well the film has done. But I was really excited whenever kind of our main publishers really take a chance on franchises like this, and that they come out pretty good. I see this kind of creepy thing. Something unholy has chosen Jessica. Very creepy. So you're into horror, if you're a horror fan, if you love the Conjuring films, this is definitely going to be for you. I really like this. 5 issues. It's going to be a short run. All right, let's see what else we've been reading. So still something that I'm just oozing over, and several content creators have already spoken about this, but I really just wanted to address it for my channel, is Geiger, issue #3 from Image Comics. I think this is really setting up another just classic, recognizable, even household name character one day in Geiger. I've said it once before, I'm going to say it again. This reminds me of the first time that I picked up something like Spawn, also from Image Comics, from Todd McFarlane, as that character building is something that you can completely parallel with Geiger. But I love how Geiger really does has its own unique and original take on it. And it really isn't borrowing anything from anything well established, and is its own story. And if issue #2 took time to build the world that Geiger takes place in, issue 3 takes time and really gets into the character building. We finally get a real focus on the main character and really get this dramatic backstory that just strengthens him as a hero and as a character. But not only that, it also takes time to strengthen and kind of build on the villains of this story. and just makes just the overall story just that more rich. Just really classic story, a really classic coming to be superhero story. And I can parallel it with many stories of kind of like these lost people, or these lost souls, definitely in regards to Spawn, that kind of struggle with making choices, making decisions and how to move forward. And Geiger is very similar on this path, as he's put in a lot of predicaments of between what his goal is, but what happens when something unexpected comes into your path and you might have to change as a person morally. What do you do? And that's just really great for character building, and writers and even artists here are just doing a really awesome job in kind of creating that for these characters. Art wise, again, it is just beautiful. Beautifully, how can I say it, beautifully brutal, and how it's picturing not only the villains, but of course a lot of the side characters and even the main character. Again, superhero look, or just the look. I don't know if you can call characters like Geiger, characters like Spawn, superheroes. They're definitely super, but they definitely struggle with that hero element, hero aspect to their roles they're playing in this world. But aesthetically, oh man, just the way he looks, classic. It's going to be a classic look. It's going to be something memorable, and I think it's going to be just a rising book and a rising hero for Image Comics. Geiger #3. If you guys have not started reading this, get on this. I mean, it just has so much potential to be translated into, I don't know, so many other different things other than just a comic book, if you know what I mean. Geiger issue #3. This is really cool. So as I mentioned, I'm really late in the game on some of these issues, as some creators have already been speaking about these for some time, but I cannot do a This Week in Comics and not talk about how I feel about SpiderMan SpiderShadow from Marvel. This is the What If issue that I've been speaking about. I think I've vlogged every single issue here, where it takes a variant timeline. We all now have that term. If you've watched Loki from Disney Plus, now we have variant timelines and variants of characters and things like that. So not something new. Marvel comic books always mess around with variant timelines and variant characters, and this is what we're getting with SpiderMan SpiderShadow. As I've spoke about before, Peter does not surrender. In this variant timeline, Peter does not defeat and does not surrender the symbiote. He instead kind of succumbs and chooses to succumb to the influence and control that the symbiote is capable of. And he becomes the most brutal and murderous form that Spider-Man would never be. And that's already well established by issue #3. What I really love that it's doing here is variant timelines still include a lot of the very familiar faces and characters that the traditional timeline would have. And the most noticeable here, small spoiler, is Eddie Brock. As in the end of issue 1, you discover that he's still on this warpath against Spider-Man, except he never comes into possession of the symbiote suit. Traditionally he would, and traditionally he would become the semi-villain that we know to be Venom. But that doesn't happen in this alternate timeline. But Eddie Brock is still on this warpath, and he's been stewing with this hatred and this idea of vengeance. And it drives him absolutely insane, and he in turn also becomes kind of this very murderous and just very brutal form that we've never seen Eddie Brock become. As far as villains, the Sinister Six are again just reduced to this pack of prey that are really just planning and plotting for their own lives. John Jameson takes a very alternate role here, and it was pretty awesome, pretty exciting. To see that this timeline really took a story on its own, as we see a form of Peter and a form of Spider-Man in the black suit that we've never seen before. The Fantastic Four are involved here, as they also are involved in the traditional storyline, but take a very different role that will just blow you away by the end of the issue. If you like what-if issues, if you love alternate timelines with the symbiote suit, as I think this is something that has just been done a lot, and it's just a lot of fun to read. As you know, you can do so much with the alien symbiote suit. As everything becomes venomized that we've seen, there's just so much they can do, so many alternate timelines they can create. This one is a lot of fun. This is SpiderMan SpiderShadow issue #3 from Marvel. And this is the only cover that we got. That's all we have for this week in comics. I only talked about just 3 issues. Tomorrow is the new comic book day. Maybe I'll finally, for once, post something on time with comic books that are released for the week. I don't know. You never know. Miracles can happen. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to visit the website and check out all the stuff we're doing in Endgame.